In this video, you guys are gonna learn why you're having a hard time releasing the golf club. And you might think it has something to do with your wrists or your arms, but actually has to do with how your body moves in the follow through. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button. And if you are new to my channel, hit that subscribe button as well, just so you can see more golf related content in the future. And don't forget that if you guys wanna send in your golf swings to me, you can send it through my profile on the Skillest app. I'll leave the link to that in the description box below. But you can take a look at all my online programs. That way, whenever I analyze you, I can prescribe very specific drills for you, just so that you have the right feels for what your specific issue is. Now let's get into it. Okay, so to start the explanation off, for those of you who don't know what release is basically in the downswing, that point at which the club head kind of passes your hands. That's at least what release is to me. And a lot of people want this feeling because they feel like they're throwing the weight of the club head. They can generate more speed at the golf ball. And a lot of people struggle feeling this because of, like, yes, it has to do with maybe how their wrists are moving, how their arms are moving, but their arms can't move properly as long as their sequence is incorrect. So if the sequence of your swing or your body movement is off, it'll be always physically difficult to do it. Just so that you guys are aware, I made a video about the sequence in a previous video, so be sure to check that out. I explained that in the downswing, the proper sequence is weight shift followed by hip rotation, then chest, then arms, and then club last. Follows that sequence from the ground up. Now, what people often think is that they understand that sequence for the most part, but they all think that the body continues to rotate through it at the same speed. The lower body keeps turning at the same speed, the shoulders keep turning at the same speed, but that's actually not what happens. In reality, what happens is after the downswing sequence, in the follow through, everything actually decelerates in the same order, okay? So what I mean by that is that the lower body starts, followed by the chest, followed by the arms, and then the club is last. But then past impact, the lower body decelerates very quickly, or almost like stops for an instant. And then the chest decelerates, and then the arms decelerate so that the club can kind of overtake and swing past the arms. The analogy I like to give people, if you've ever played baseball, right, and you look at a pitcher, when they're about to throw that ball, right, they load up, they transfer their weight, but then as soon as they step, it's almost as if they brace, okay? So the left side of their body stops so that the right side can kind of come through the throw. So that is almost like, right? You're not trying to like continuously turn your whole body like this nonstop, okay? There has to be a brace so that the opposite side of your body can kind of go through it. So that's kind of a similar kind of analogy to the golf swing. Whereas if you look closely, I'm not consistently turning my body all the way through. If I were to do that in the follow through, I would essentially be dragging the club or dragging the weight of the club through the shot, where I'm not really getting that club head end to whip and accelerate past the ball. So if you saw that, you can see my sequence. You can see that eventually, for an instant, in the follow through, maybe if I play it in slow motion, you can kind of see that my hips will decelerate quickly, followed by the chest, followed by the arms, and that club head kind of whips past. So without the proper sequence and the proper deceleration of body parts, it'd be really tough for that club head to get past you. On the screen quickly, I'll just show you the incorrect way versus the correct way. And you can see when I do it incorrect, my body, I felt like I was kind of constantly rotating through the shot at the same rate. My hip and my chest were kind of turning at the same time. Whereas when I was doing it correctly, I felt more of that deceleration, very fast deceleration of my hip, followed by the chest and the arms. So very, very quickly, but I think you can kind of see it like that stall, that slight stall, like just after I hit the golf ball. And that is what allows or gives my arms enough time, or the club head, just enough time to kind of whip past me. And when I do that, that's when I get that feeling of that whip near the bottom. Whereas if my body is rotating at the same time, I felt like I was dragging the club head a bit more. In order to do this, you have to start to be able or physically be able to kind of separate or make separations between lower and upper body. So what that means is like you have to be able to kind of turn your chest while keeping your lower body stable, or keeping your upper body stable while moving your lower body right and left. Okay, so that's kind of like the first exercise I get people to do to see if they can physically do this. So the test that you can do is you can put your club across your shoulders. I mean, you don't even need a club, but the first test is to keep your upper body totally stable. Like, I don't want to see any wiggling like this. It has to be completely stable while you just turn your hip in one direction. Okay, so you can kind of see my belt kind of points left. I don't have to do it like, it's not about the amount, it's if you can actually physically do it. Okay, so just do it to the point where you just feel comfortable, but as long as you're able to turn your hip and keep your upper body very, very stable, then that tells me that you have the physical ability to do it. But if a lot of people, when they try to turn their lower body, you see a lot of like wiggling in the upper body, it means that they don't have enough stability. Okay, so that would mean they'd have to work on some mobility, stuff like this. The other test is the opposites, right? You're gonna keep your lower body very, very stable, but then you're just gonna turn your chest, right? And remember, it's not about the amount, it's just that if you can physically do it. Okay, I'm just turning it a little bit, but you can see my lower body is completely still. So I'm able to have enough stability and also separate the movement from upper and lower body. So if you're able to do that, then you're physically, able to do this motion correctly. But if not, again, you got to do some more mobility training, things like this. If you are able to do it, the best drill is to kind of do that stop quick drill, all right, which I've mentioned in previous videos before. But with this new information from this video, you might have a different perspective about this drill. And I'm going to just explain some points that you can look for when you're doing this drill, just to get the right feeling, okay? I wouldn't advise doing this like as fast and as hard as you can. We can do this very slowly, but when I'm doing this drill, I'm stopping it very, very quickly, very, very early, all right? But at that point, you have to be conscious of, when you pause it in this position, you got to feel like your belt is to the left, your chest feels like it's more to the right or more facing forward, belt is to the left. So that would be a very similar position as if I kept my upper body stable and I just turned my hip to the left. You kind of want to feel like you're in that position just post-impact. Okay, that's the closest feeling I can give people. So right here, right, I'm basically almost doing that exact same exercise right here. Right, hip is over here, but my chest is quite stable. All right. So now when it comes to the actual arm and the club, right, at that point, right, if I've successfully kind of released the club or swung that club past my hands, just around when my arm is past my lead pocket, you can see that my right arm and the shaft is in a straight line, okay? So the other point I get people to look at is the position of the right shoulder at that point. So if you were a player that kind of rotated everything together and at the same rate, that right shoulder will have moved forward. You can kind of see that everything's facing the target. My right shoulder is kind of almost past where the golf ball would be. If I was doing it a bit more correctly, you can see that a little bit longer through impact, that right shoulder stays back a little bit more, kind of stays back here, as opposed to me getting my chest fully rotated at this point, right? So see, the height of the club is the same, but you can see that adjustment I've made, right? I'm kind of in this position, whereas most people are already kind of in this position, right? So that just means I'm keeping my chest a little bit closed as my hips kind of turn through, and then I'm just letting that club kind of being thrown past my hands. So that's getting you in a position to where your hips are turning faster than your chest, and then it gives your arms enough time to kind of release or get that club to whip past, okay? So again, when you're doing this, do it very slow, almost like a little pitch to start. You kind of see I'm doing it very slowly, but you can kind of see my chest is facing a lot more forward relative to my belt. My belt is kind of pointing over here, right? And the buttons of my shirt are kind of facing you guys more, all right? So this is a really good exercise just to kind of get the sequence of the swing down, but also a feeling of how you should be able to physically get that club to whip past and release a lot easier. Thank you guys so much for watching. So hopefully this information gives you a new perspective as to why you may be struggling with releasing the golf club. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment down below. And like always, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps me to create more videos like this for you guys. See you next time.